everybody, it's Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast where we just got released by the 49ers. It's me, your man, MG Marcus Grant, joined by Michael F. Florio and Laquan Jones. Fellas, free agency hasn't started. The legal tampering period is fully upon us.
Yeah.
How we feeling? It's been a wild 24 hours so far.
Well, I can already tell you how I'm starting the pod off. I mean, we might as well just put a 5 next to that. 2024.
I will say the Rams are very much set up to repeat as division champions.
It's every time, like, I get my hopes down after we obviously lose, and then I'm like, damn, man, we're about to go into a rebuild. And then we just come back, bounce back, and like, we're back in it, baby. Let's go.
I mean, Florio, let's not let him forget, though, that he was like about to call a therapist when it looked like Matthew Stafford might sign somebody else. He was looking for like mental health solutions.
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Back. We're back, baby. We're rolling.
Oh, man.
It has been a very different free agency period for your two teams.
Yeah. It was weird because the Niners went from, a few weeks ago being like, we're keeping the band together to like, everybody out. Like Brock Purdy he's that Will Smith meme just in the empty house, like looking around like, what's going on? But we'll get into that. We got plenty of signings to talk about. Obviously, look, this is free agency. Things are fluid. I'm going to try and focus on the things that have happened versus trying to predict what might happen, because there's a very good chance that in the course of recording this show, things could pop up along the way. So, depending on how it goes, you may even hear some live reactions to some things that have happened. So I'm going to break this down sort of by position with some of the big things that have happened and kind of get our fantasy takes on some of them. Also, let's get started with some news headlines. Some things have actually happened newsworthy wise with non-free agents since the last time we talked to you. The Browns and Myles Garrett have come to an agreement. Apparently winning trumps everything, but $40 million per year trumps that. Myles Garrett is now the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. So what? Max Crosby held the record for what? A day?
Record breaking like 20 days, maybe? I don't know.
The Bengals said they want to make Chase the highest paid non-quarterback, and that price went up dramatically.
Why would you say that, though?
Say wide receiver.
As ancient philosopher Fat Joe once said, yesterday's price is not today's price. So Myles Garrett stays in Cleveland. The Cleveland defense has its fence record for another 4 years. They just got to figure out the offensive side of the ball. We'll see. We'll see what they do about that. Meanwhile, Mr. F. Florio himself is very happy because Josh Allen is staying in Western New York. He's agreed to a 6-year deal worth $330 million with $250 million guaranteed. Keeps him in Buffalo through 2030. I don't really know what to say about it. I mean, we've talked about him. He is potentially the QB1. At worst, he's the QB2. But for you, Florio, it means your franchise player is not going anywhere for a while.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are like, they didn't have to do this right now. Well, they didn't, but they keep him happy because he was very underpaid. And by doing that, they kind of save some money because he might have the most guaranteed money, but he is not making the most money per year by a quarterback. So he could have squeezed another $6 million per year, maybe even more out of that. So this is just a good deal all around. And it ensures that at the very least, Josh Allen is playing in Buffalo till his mid-30s, which is going to be his prime. So yeah, the greatest Buffalo Bill of all time is staying in Buffalo.
Is he the greatest Buffalo Bill of all time?
I think when it's all said and done, like people were on Twitter like, what about O.J. Simpson? And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to count him.
I was just gonna go Jim Kelly. Like I wasn't. I
think right now Kelly would be ahead of Allen, but after these 6 years, I think Allen is going to be one.
All right. So one guy is sticking around in Buffalo. One guy is leaving Buffalo. Von Miller
He'll be back.
Is being released by the. You think he's coming back? You think they're just going to re-sign him?
I think he said he doesn't want to play anywhere else but Buffalo, and he was making way too much money. So I think it makes sense, but who knows? You never know with free agency.
Right. Exactly. I mean, Myles Garrett was leaving until he wasn't. So we'll see. I know he wasn't a free agent per se, but you get the point. And then the Panthers releasing Miles Sanders. Laquan, this is one that just turns out to be a big nothing burger down there in Carolina. I mean, I never thought Miles Sanders was going to be like a transformational back down there. And I think he's going to turn things around. I also didn't think he would basically get excommunicated for Chuba Hubbard. You know?
I mean, I just tweeted this, man. Shout out to Chuba, man. Like, he was able to fight through being a backup to CMC. And then the following year, a resurgent of Deontay Foreman's career, which was insane, almost put up 1,000 yards. And then the following year, they go and sign Miles Sanders for a huge bag. And it's like Chuba Hubbard's just sitting there like, yo, I can ball. And he did. And he was able to hold him off. And then the following year, they draft a second-round running back that was injured. He still got his bag.
That is still injured.
Still injured, yes.
Yeah. Just the Miles Sanders experience did not work out. I actually thought, I had hoped for years that he would blossom into something in Philadelphia. Obviously, that never happened.
They knew.
I don't know. Is this... We'll get into free agent signings. I know he's out there. It seems like Florida may be a while before Miles Sanders gets a call from anybody. I can't imagine that happens soon.
Yeah, I mean, there was a team that paid him a bunch of money who chose to give numerous other running backs work over him. I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into some of the signings that have already happened, even though the free agent period doesn't technically begin until tomorrow. But a lot of agreed to terms, plans to sign with, expected to sign with. Those are sort of the languages that we are hearing in a lot of these reports here. Sam Darnold will be signing with the Seattle Seahawks. 3 years, $100.5 million with $55 million guaranteed and $37.5 million in year one. But Laquan, this comes after the Seahawks have let go of Tyler Lockett. They have traded DK Metcalf, which we didn't even get into, the fact that DK Metcalf getting traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Crash Bros.
Right. That's a whole other conversation about what life with DK and George Pickens is going to be like. But let's stick with Sam Darnold for now.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was a magical season for him right up until the end, when the last couple games, the end of the regular season and the playoffs went about as badly as you could have imagined.
Yeah.
Now he's going to Seattle with a poor offensive line and pretty much just Jackson Smith and Jigba. Can you draft Sam Darnold as a top 12 quarterback this year?
Ooh, no. As of today, no. We will have to wait until after the draft and how free agency finishes out, because there's still some guys out there they can go and sign. But right now, absolutely not. The O-line's a mess. I honestly don't know the direction of the offense. But him himself as a player, I think he got the raise money-wise in year one. He actually earned, the spot to actually say I could be a starting quarterback in this league. And having Jackson Smith and Jigba is definitely a plus to have an electric wide receiver like him that you could throw to. So more so, it's going to be the additions to the offense that will make me more interested in Sam Darnold as a top 12 quarterback, because again, he has some mobility to him. He has a deep ball. We saw him connect very well with Justin Jefferson. So there's some pieces that he has, but there's no pieces around him. And that's the big issue for me for fantasy to actually invest in.
Florio, does this change how you feel about JSN?
No, because Sam Darnold, I know he didn't throw to the slot as much as Geno did last season, but I believe that's because he had Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison out wide a lot. So he's naturally going to throw to those guys more than anything. And now on the Seahawks, he's naturally going to throw to JSN more than anyone else because he is their best weapon. And it might make him a little bit more volatile, but I think the volume is going to make up for all of that. So continue to like him as a high-end wide receiver too. I would not feel comfortable with JSN as my wide receiver one.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that part out. I think wide receiver 2 is probably a better situation, but I was just because he's the only one there. Right? Yeah. I feel like the target volume should be pretty hefty, just because where else are they going to go? Someone, I think it was might have been Nate Yonke of PFF, posted the depth chart, the wide receiver depth chart for the Seahawks.
Yeah,
it ain't great. It's JSN.
Don't look operational.
I mean, unless you somehow believe in the power of Jake Bobo, it doesn't look great. Doesn't look great.
Kenneth Walker's who I want in this offense.
Kenneth Walker? Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, does this make sense, though? If he's a wide receiver, too, but I wouldn't take him as my second wide receiver for my roster. I would probably wait as long as I could, because, it doesn't look great right now from what we see right now on paper. Does that make sense?
I don't know. I mean, I would take him as a second wide receiver in fantasy just because unless something else happens, unless something happens in free agency or they draft somebody, there's just going to be a lot of volume. And look, if there's one thing we know about Sam Darnold, he can support at least one wide receiver. Even the early Sam Darnold could support one wide receiver. So if it's going to be one, like JSN is going to be the guy. So I wouldn't mind having him as my second fantasy receiver.
You're not crazy, Laquan, but you're probably just not going to have him then.
Yeah, that and I feel like I'm okay with that because like I don't know if this heavy workload and it's not like he's a running back or anything like that. Like it's going to be volume, yes, but the longevity of this, like it's 17 games and it's span.
I'm kind of in that same boat. Like I'm cool ranking him there as a wide receiver too, but I don't know if I like when drafts that means something happened. I don't know if I'll be the one taking him
because I'm visually trying to see where he's going and the other options around him kind of look a little bit better. You know, like
I'll take Ladd McConkey over him all day.
Ladd, that's the name that's just sitting there right for me. I feel better with that situation.
Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, I mean. These are conversations to have on draft day with yourself because it's like, yeah, the volume's there, but I don't know if I like the entire situation for it to be that.
Yeah, I don't know. I get the feeling, especially in best ball situations, I get the feeling that I'm going to have some JSN because I think there'll be spike weeks there.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. There's a lot of bad defenses out there.
There's a lot of bad defenses. Well, the reason Sam Darnold was able to sign with the Seattle Seahawks is because Geno Smith got traded to the Las Vegas Raiders earlier in the week. So the Raiders get their quarterback after all this speculation. There was talk that maybe they make a move for Justin Fields. Maybe they try to angle and draft Shedeur Sanders. Even Aaron Rodgers supposedly had a conversation or was going to have a conversation with the Raiders. Instead, seemingly out of nowhere, Florio. I mean, it's just kind of popped up. Like, there were no rumors, there were no whispers. Just all of a sudden, Geno Smith was traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. Upgrade over Gardner Minshew, right? Upgrade over Aiden O'Connell. Definitely makes us feel okay about Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. Is it enough that makes you want to draft Geno Smith, though?
I think Geno Smith stays what Geno Smith has been, which is like a QB2 that you could stream in the right matchups. And one that we know is going to be out there every week. And that means a lot in fantasy because so many quarterbacks in recent years have gone down due to injury. And Geno is very, very durable. I think Bowers is obviously a huge winner. I think Jacoby Myers is low-key a big winner here too because Geno does target the slot a good amount. So he could win from there, as we've seen in the past. Geno, I think you could make an argument that of all the quarterbacks that were available, we didn't know Geno was available coming in. Like you said, it came out, I was literally walking down Melrose, saw that alert, and audibly went, whoa. And Nikolai was like, what happened? I was like, oh, Geno Smith got traded. Don't worry. But I just think the reason he's not with Seattle right now is because they figured Sam Darnold is younger and going to cost a lot less money because apparently Geno wants like 40-something million. So it was a business decision. It wasn't like a quality of play like reason why he got moved or anything. I think you can make the case he's the best quarterback that was on the market.
I mean, I think so. It's just, like you said, nobody really knew that he was on the market. It just sort of appeared out of nowhere. Also, side note to that story, I do love that, those moments where you have to sort of remember that what's important in our little weird professional world is not really important in the grand scheme of things. So like for us seeing Geno Smith get traded to the Raiders, like, whoa, that's a big deal. And then you have to explain it to somebody who doesn't, follow the NFL closely or isn't super online. Yeah, it's nothing.
Even my friend who's a sports fan was like, "Oh, that's cool. Like it's March. Like
Me trying to explain to Sabrina, like, yeah, we got Devontae Adams. She's like, who is that? And I'm like, yeah,
yeah. Things that just belong to us. That's it. More quarterback news. Justin Fields is going to the New York Jetropolitans. 2 years, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed. The numbers kind of took my breath away just because of who Justin Fields is and what his history has been. It's like when I step back, I always want the players to get as much as they can, right? I am team get the bag for sure when it comes to players. I just didn't think that he would command that much, but maybe it's just what the quarterback draft situation is and who the remaining free agents are that he gets that much. But so he's with the Jets, Laquan. I don't know. I know how we all feel as an industry about Justin Fields, right? We love the rushing upside. We sort of temper the expectations when it comes to him and his throwing ability. But we just went through a year where Garrett Wilson was good, but sort of underperformed by our expectations. Is there any reason to think that his production gets better with Justin Fields at quarterback?
I mean, the time they spent in college, the 2 seasons, there's the chemistry and previous, remembering of like how this guy times up this route and et cetera, but more so looking at Justin Fields, this is a fresh start for him and it's a fresh start for the Jets. And he's bringing a little bit of what they kind of need to this offense. They need somebody that's going to get out of the pocket and convert on first down, because honestly, you're looking at this as a whole grand scale of this whole Jets offense. Like there is some pieces here that gives me fantasy interest now with Justin Fields there, because again, this is going to keep these drives alive. These are going to give opportunities for Garrett Wilson to be the primary target. So I think this is all around win for him. And, the money, it is what it is. Yeah. But more so looking at Justin Fields, he can go into this situation knowing he's the starter, knowing he can go out there and perform and put up, big numbers that I think that he knows that he can do now, learning behind Russell Wilson, being in Mike Tomlin, ear and everything like that. Like, I think, we should go into this, expect at least like a top 12 performance out of him this year in fantasy, at least top 12.
He's my favorite signing of all the quarterbacks.
Yeah, and the rushing upside is always going to be there with him. So it's not like we have to keep pounding the table that he's going to be one of these top 10 fantasy quarterbacks. It's just more so looking at like, can he increase his passing performance? Like, can he be a little bit more stagnant in the pocket sometimes and not run out all the time? Because that's not always the best option,
At what point do we stop hoping for and just accepting what is?
Well, what is amazing. Like he's a QB1 for fantasy football. And I think this is a great fit. Like he, since 2022, leads all quarterbacks in outside zone rushing touchdowns and is only behind Lamar in yards. The Jets ran the 5th most outside runs last year, and their new OC was part of the Lions, who were 6th in that category. And then take the run, like a quarterback running helps a running back running, so it's good for Breece Hall. He might not get as many dump offs, but on Garrett Wilson, I've seen a lot of people say this is a net negative. Are people forgetting that DJ Moore's career year came with Justin Fields? And even more so, people are like, well, this is going to lower Garrett Wilson's rankings. To me, I think we've always propped him up higher than he's been. Like, this was his first year finishing as a wide receiver 1, and he only did so in total points. In points per game, he was a wide receiver 2. In his career, he's been a wide receiver 2 or 3, and we've always said it's because of the quarterback. I think Garrett Wilson is a wide receiver 2 who maybe in the right circumstances, sure, can be a wide receiver 1. But like, I just feel like he's going to get properly valued now, not like he's going to be undervalued.
I'm torn on Garrett Wilson because I think he is talented enough to be a wide receiver 1. He's just been, God, I hate when I say this, right? Because I feel like we say this about a handful of players every year, right? He's a good player and the circumstances around him have not been great, right? Like look at the quarterback situation. No, I think Garrett Wilson's better than Chris Olave. I mean, that's close, but I think Garrett Wilson's a better player than Chris Olave.
But he got propped up to the first round, just like how we did Garrett Wilson. It's just misidentifying what they actually are.
Malik Neighbors had a worse quarterback room and put up elite numbers as a rookie. Better numbers than Wilson has ever put up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, They were definitely trying to save their job. Yeah. I would say to get Malik Neighbors the ball every single play, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th down.
Yeah. I mean, there's that part of it too.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't think he has that year again, but it's more so, you have a point.
Oh, I think he's going to be better.
You think Malik Neighbors is going to be better? We got to figure out who the Giants. We got to figure out who the Giants quarterback is going to be.
If it's Aaron Rodgers, I'm on board with that. If it's Russell Wilson,
going to be throwing up moon balls.
Well, we know it's not going to be Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. It's not going to be him because Daniel Jones is going to Indianapolis. After finishing the year with the Minnesota Vikings as a backup option, he is now going to go to Indianapolis, where he's going to compete with Anthony Richardson for a starting job. We'd sort of talked about Richardson and the quarterback competition and how we feel about him depending on who comes in. Florio, now that it's Daniel Jones as the number 2 option, you feel better about Richardson winning that starting job?
Yes, this is the best case scenario in my opinion. Like if they brought in an Aaron Rodgers or if they bring in a Russell Wilson, because they weren't going to bring in a pure backup, right? Like they made it pretty clear that they want to bring in someone who could compete, and at the very least, someone that if you have to pull out on Anthony Richardson and like hit that eject button, you feel like, okay, this guy can at least win us games. So it wasn't, in my opinion, going to be like a Gardner Minshew or someone like that. Daniel Jones is the best of those quarterbacks. If it was Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or any Sam Darnold, there was ties to, like, it's over for Anthony Richardson. He is not starting week 1.
No.
My take now is like, look, Richardson, if you can't beat out Daniel Jones, that's all the answers we need. But if, like, you have to believe he is going to get those competitions. Like, this is one where, like, if it's close, it's going to go to Anthony Richardson. Like, Daniel Jones, in my opinion, has to greatly outperform Anthony Richardson in camp and everything. And if that happens, then we're all wrong on Anthony Richardson anyway. And it saves us from drafting him. So I think this just gives him the most opportunity to continue to be a starter, which is good for fantasy football.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, yes, if it's close, I think it goes to Anthony Richardson, but that doesn't make me feel great knowing that they've already pulled the plug on him a couple of times. Like, even if it's close and they give it to Richardson, like, it just feels like the first sign of trouble. They're going to be like, hey, Daniel, get in there. Like,
the big loser is Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah, nothing gets better for him, sadly.
Like, I do feel like a lot of people are looking at this as that it's a safe signing. You know, like, obviously, if it was a Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins trade, Aaron Rodgers, yeah, he'll be dead. But being that Daniel Jones actually has a leg up on Anthony Richardson in multiple categories. Daniel Jones has that 2022 season that people like to look at back to. That was real. That happened. Anthony Richardson does not have that. He just has 2 games the Jets game that we keep pointing to. And then we look at Daniel Jones. He has the experience over Anthony Richardson. He has the starting reps. So it's looking at it like, I don't know, man. They have expectations for Daniel Jones. I mean, the rumors around Combine about them having interest in him. And he also had an opportunity in Minnesota that he left because he obviously thinks he could beat Anthony Richardson for the job. And who knows what Indy told him or his agent of like, hey, you know, the job's basically yours. Like, we don't know these conversations, but I'm looking at it like, yo, if he can't beat Daniel Jones and this is like in June, July that we're still having this conversation, might be curtains, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm keeping an eye on this one because
Jones is 1 year with over 15 passing touchdowns.
Listen, it's Anthony Richardson.
But the win with 15 in 2022 is when everybody gets excited about, right? Like,
because he ran.
Because he ran a lot.
I do think this was a better fit. Like, Joe Flacco made no sense last year because when you brought him in, you had to completely change up your offense. You could bring in either one of these quarterbacks and be like, all right, they're mobile enough to run the same style.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the reason. At least stylistically, you don't have to change a lot, whoever the quarterback's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, Daniel Jones starts 4 or 5 games this year.
I have an Anthony Richardson shirt, and I'm definitely going to look back in like 5 years and be like, what was I thinking?
Well, how did this happen?
It's not over yet, though.
I'm holding out hope till the boat is underwater, you know?
Other quarterback moves. Kenny Pickett gets traded to the Cleveland Browns for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So DTR goes to the Eagles. Kenny Pickett goes to Cleveland. That is what it is. Over to the running backs. Aaron Jones is staying in Minnesota. I don't know that any of us are surprised. We sort of felt like that was a good move for both.
Kind of made too much sense.
Yeah, it was a good move for both those sides. Jones was good for the Vikings. The Vikings, I think, could use him certainly. 2 years, $20 million with $13 million guaranteed. Laquan, what? High RB2?
High RB2. Especially if they're going to roll out with JJ, he's going to need somebody to dump off to have a security blanket. And Aaron Jones was crazy efficient last season in his opportunities. So, yeah.
I mean, on top of it, and we hadn't really talked about it, but the Vikings are going out and they're trying to add O-line help because obviously that was an issue for them late in the season. We saw Sam Darnold under a ton of pressure. So they're trying to shore up the offensive line. and that'll help Aaron Jones as well. Najee Harris is leaving Pittsburgh, signing a 1-year deal with the Chargers for up to $9.25 million. I know, Florida, that we were all sort of out on J.K. Dobbins, but he is still a sentient human who exists and draws a paycheck playing professional football for the Chargers. That alone makes me at least a little bit hesitant about Najee Harris this year. I don't know about you.
Yeah, we got to see if they bring Dobbins back or not. And
True.
I know some people are of the mindset that they're going to. I was kind of the opposite. I was like, this is the new Dobbins there because Dobbins is more explosive. He's better forcing missed tackles, all of that. But he is extremely injury prone. And even last year in his career year was missed a bunch of time. The one thing that Najee Harris gives you is durability. Like one, he's going to play. He's never missed a game in his career, I believe. And two, like you can give this guy 30 touches a game and he's going to be just fine. So my thinking has kind of been, this is a 1-year deal. They are going to give Najee Harris like 350 touches this year and just be like, carry us. Like you're a more physical runner, all of that. But if they do re-sign Dobbins, it's just a situation that I want absolutely no part of for fantasy.
You're right in that Najee Harris has never missed a game in his career. He has also only had, his rookie year, he had 1,200 rushing yards. After that, he's never had 1,050 in a season.
Yeah, it's like 1,035.
1,034, 1,035, 1,043.
The Mike Evans of running backs.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it is oatmeal, like personified.
The touches is there for him.
I mean, he will get the touches in Los Angeles, especially if J.K. Dobbins doesn't come back.
Is Kamani Vidal alive?
Kamani Vidal, like I was a Kamani Vidal guy last year. Obviously, that didn't really pan out. But maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the opportunity that Vidal needs to sort of make things happen. But with Najee Harris leaving Pittsburgh, Jaylen Warren has been tendered an offer by the Steelers worth about $5.35 million. I see you fist pumping there, Florio. I mean, I think we've all wanted something good to happen for Jaylen Warren. This feels like a good thing happening for Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, I mean, opportunity, to me, there's been a handful of running backs who have been big winners. And it's like Jaylen Warren, Chase Brown, and Isaiah Pacheco are three that come to mind for me because either they didn't bring in another backup or they brought in one that is clearly a backup and not going to really take a bunch of touches away, in my opinion. Warren obviously has to survive the NFL draft. It is a very deep running back class, but we all know this kid could play. Like he's a good runner. He's explosive. He can be utilized in the passing game. The issue is Najee Harris has never missed a game in his career and gets a whole bunch of volume himself. So we've never really seen Jaylen Warren unlocked. And I think we all have really high hopes for what that could look like. Top 15 running back, I would say, maybe with even a little bit more upside, but he just needs a chance. And right now is the clearest path to a chance he's had in his NFL career.
Yeah.
Facts.
We will see how the rest of free agency and the draft plays out. But right now, Jaylen Warren very much RB1 in Pittsburgh behind whoever's going to be the quarterback for the Steelers. We'll find out. Meanwhile, Javonte Williams on the move, 1-year deal, $3.5 million, maybe something like that with the Cowboys, up to $3.5 million, I believe, with some incentives potentially. Either way, Laquan, it's not a huge money deal. You put in our text chat, you asked, Javonte to the Cowboys, are we back? And I said, we are not.
The quickest response ever.
We are not.
We are not.
I don't know, try to change my mind. Is there a reason that we should be excited about Javonte Williams in Dallas?
There's only one reason. And that reason is that the Cowboys are making top priority that they're going to get back to old-fashioned run the ball. So if you give Javonte opportunity to actually be the lead back, I think he could produce. He wasn't efficient last season with Denver, but they had like 6 other running backs in front of him. Like, how are you supposed to get into rhythm? So I feel like he's a rhythm running back. So if you give him opportunity to get things going and you start handing him the rock as the RB1, might be looking at an RB2, in fantasy, man. That's the absolute ceiling for me. I'm not going to go out there and say he's going to be like a top 5, top 10 running back, but I'm looking for serviceable guys in a offense that is going to make priority to run the ball.
Fleur, does this mean RIP Rico Dowdle?
Yeah, I mean, they could have brought him back, but they chose to sign Javonte instead. So
He was probably cheaper, to be honest.
I mean, well, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. A couple other running back news of note. Samaje Perine signing with the Bengals, 2 years, $3.8 million. That doesn't really make me super excited about Chase Brown. Like I want to be, but it just feels like Samaje could be a potential thorn in the side. You know, not that I'm drafting Samaje Perine or I want him on the roster, but just that he could, you know, take enough pass catching work just to be annoying is what it sort of feels like.
Yeah.
For him there in Cincinnati. And Elijah Mitchell signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. You guys seem a lot more, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I don't think Elijah Mitchell's going to come in there and maybe necessarily take over. I think he's going to have a bigger role. Like, I get the sense, Florio, you think he's just there kind of as insurance for Isaiah Pacheco.
I think he can take away touches, but they'll be the least valuable touches. They'll be the handoffs in between the 20s. Whereas I still think Pacheco probably their goal line runner. And I mean, Elijah Mitchell, I'm always a person that's like, don't say a player can't do it because he was never asked to. But his entire 49ers tenure, they really didn't use him much as a pass catcher. So if that part of the offense still goes to Isaiah Pacheco, like if he's catching the passes, still leading them in carries and getting the goal line work, he could be everything that I was super excited for him for last season, which was a top 5 runner. If Mitchell though does eat into those, then it's a nightmare situation.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on how that goes in Kansas City. Diving into wide receivers, one just hit not that long ago. The Cardinals re-signing Zay Jones, 1 year, $4.4 million.
Boo!
I mean, I know that hurts your Greg Dortch opportunities, although you wanted him in Los Angeles, so, you know, whatever.
Yeah, you're right. There's still opportunity.
You're so sad. You're so sad about this. That's cute. Meanwhile, on to the ones that will probably more likely have a major immediate fantasy impact, including one with your Los Angeles Rams, Davante Adams, signing with the Rams, 2 years, $46 million, $26 million guaranteed, $12 million signing bonus. So I have to ask once again, are you still about Puka at 1.01?
No, this takes a huge hit. But I do think he's still first round, though, believe it or not. But at the very back end. And I think we have to assess this as...
I mean, Puka's still first round.
Yeah, Puka's still first round.
Okay.
And I think you take Adams in that second round wherever you want to take him, because I think the high upside of just how this Rams offense just got better. And I know that sounds crazy when we just had Cooper Kupp, but the production was kind of in the 800, 900-yard mark of yards. Like, we're possibly looking at 2 wide receivers to have over 1,000 yards. And I think Adams picks up a huge area where we lacked that last season, which was the red zone. So you're honestly looking at Kyron Williams. He may take a hit, you know, because our problem was the red zone. And that's why he got fed so much. So now you're looking at like Puka being, you know, obviously the one. He's going to have to be one-on-one if you got Davante Adams going completely bonkers on the other side as well, because both these guys are creative route runners. These guys can run every single route in the book. They're still creating at least 3 yards of separation from defenders. This is elite levels that these guys are doing versus man and zone. So you're going to have to just pick your poison with these two, and these guys are both yak monsters. So I'm looking at high production out of both of these guys. So I really don't have Puka as in the top 5 picks anymore, but he's still a very good, solid pick in the first round.
So then, Florio, with all this production coming from these wide receivers, this means Matthew Stafford's a lockdown QB1, right?
I still think he's a QB2. He's one of those quarterbacks that I would draft as a QB2, but expect to finish as like a low-end QB1. More of a floor play because he simply, not only does he not run, he does everything in his power not to run. Like he's out there hoping he finishes a year with negative rushing yards. And that just hurts in fantasy. So it keeps the ceiling down. It keeps him more as a rock solid QB2, someone that you could pair with like a more upside shot, like a Caleb Williams or something along those lines. But yeah, I think it goes under the radar. Davante Adams, half of his snaps with the Jets were from the slot. It's exactly what Cooper Kupp did for the Rams last year. Like, I think you got your new Cooper Kupp. He's just still playing at a higher level than Cooper Kupp is playing at right now.
Yes.
As you were talking, I decided to go look up Matthew Stafford's career rushing numbers.
Once upon a time, he ran.
Ran-ish. He has five seasons with more than 100 rushing yards.
I don't know why I thought it was going to be more than that.
Yeah, no, it's 5 with the more. His career high was 2016. He ran for 207 yards.
I guess it was more because he always had to run for his life.
That's right. What it was.
And I don't want him to run. He broke his ribs last year messing around with a design run to the end zone. Don't ever do that again, McVay, please.
I think if you totaled up like just total yards scrambled around, like running around, it's probably a lot. But if you talk about total yards like going forward, it's not quite that many.
It's probably like a total of 7 yards.
He's got over 1,300 career rushing yards, but mind you, that's in 16 seasons. So, right.
Hall of Famer, right? I think so.
Oh, lock it. Yeah, the Super Bowl just killed that conversation. Like, yeah, it's a lock.
Why? Because he won 1 Super Bowl?
Literally, in his first year. Absolutely.
Bro, Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowls, and we're arguing whether or not he gets in the Hall of Fame. Like 1 Super Bowl does not just. I think he's in the conversation. I think he plays in an era where quarterback is really, really deep, and I think that's going to hurt him. Like, look at all the guys who are going to be like Brady's in, Rodgers is in, Breeze is in, Roethlisberger is in. Like
Eli, I think is going to get in.
You know what? Torrey Holt is still not in the Hall of Fame, so I get.
Like Phillip Rivers is going to be in the conversation. Like Stafford's got a legit. What do you mean, ew? He's in the conversation.
No. Before the Super Bowl, Stafford kind of was Phillip Rivers.
Rivers has has more of the production than Eli Manning. He just doesn't have the Super Bowl wins. That's it. So like Stafford's going to be in the conversation, but like I'm not saying he's a lock. No,
he earned it. In a good fashion way.
You're only saying that because he's a Ram. Like if he were still a Lion, you would not have this take if he were still a Lion.
There was once upon a time where Russ looked like a surefire Hall of Famer. Now I don't even think he gets in.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's move on. We got a lot to get into here. DK Metcalf, we sort of touched on it. He gets traded from the Seahawks to the Steelers in exchange for a late round pick swap and a 2025 second round pick. And then DK is also going to sign a 4-year, $132 million extension with Pittsburgh. Wow. Simple question, Florio. Can he and George Pickens coexist in the same locker room?
I think I feel bad for other DBs. They're going to be like Dudley boys, get the table and just slam them through once they start mouthing off. But I think for real life, this is a great 1-2 punch because they're both field stretchers, both big play threats, dynamic. Like you got to pick your battles of which one you want to put extra attention to and stuff. But for fantasy, I think this is going to be such a headache because they're both volatile downfield, out wide receivers who extend the field. Like that's their specialty. It's why for years, DK Metcalf's end of season numbers have always felt better than it is rostering him because I'll have like 4 or 5 huge games and then a bunch of down games. George Pickens is kind of similar, but the ironic part to me in all of this is I think the Steelers have built a wide receiver room that fits Russell Wilson pretty well. He's got chemistry there with both of these guys. He could just chuck up the moon ball, and instead they're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers, or at least that's what it sounds like they want to do. And I don't think that. I think Russ is a better fit personally.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of my thing, Laquan, is that this wide receiver pairing succeeding, their success is almost fully dependent on who the quarterback is, right?
Yeah, it is.
And it seems like Florio alluded to, the guy who I think could make it the most successful, the Steelers don't seem to want him anymore.
Yeah, like that's what's weird about this. Like if you bring in DK, it kind of indicates like, okay, you have Russ here. You let Justin Fields walk, and you would think it would just be like, okay, let's sign him, let's plug and play. But this Aaron Rodgers thing is like, it's more so beyond the actual play on the football field. Like who's going to be able to personality-wise keep these two on the same track? Like, who's going to be able to look them in the eye like, yo, just play your position and let me worry about everything else that's going on? Russell ain't doing that. They might actually team up on Russell. Like, yo, you shut up and throw me the ball. No, throw me the ball. Like, it might just be like, who can handle these personalities? Like, I think that's what it really, really seriously comes down to.
Russ has experience with both of them, though.
He does. That's
He's
true.
only able to control one. The other one, Deontay Johnson, was way out of the win. It's like,
well, I mean, but like, you know,
he's got DK and Pickens now.
Yeah, he was with DK in Seattle. He was with Pickens last year in Pittsburgh. Like,
but you're dealing with one headache at a time. When you're dealing with two at the same time in close proximity, this changes the whole.
Do you want your
scope of
quarterback
things.
to be the biggest headache?
I mean, that's what it could be if they bring in Aaron Rodgers.
You know what it feels like to me? It feels like every January, Mike Tomlin walks in with like a wheel with different quarterbacks on, and he just spins it, and he's like, let's see which one I could take to the playoffs this year. Like, he just wants a challenge.
Yeah, I see that.
If they go and get Aaron Rodgers and he takes an Aaron Rodgers, George Pickens, DK Metcalf offense to the playoffs, not because of talent, just because, like, you just got to keep this thing on the road. You got to just keep this car on the road for 17 games. Like, that alone should make Mike Tomlin a Hall of Fame coach.
My thought was like, Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback that gets Mike Tomlin fired. Because he'll have actual expectations now, unlike in the past.
Could be. Who knows?
Yeah. Wow.
That's gonna be one. And they both wear the number 14, by the way, which we didn't even touch on. Like, they're gonna have to work out like who gets to wear number 14. Like,
This is going to be bad.
that's gonna be hilarious because it's not my team. Chris Godwin re-signs with the Bucks. I think we were all anticipating that. 3 years, $66 million. I don't really know how much to say about it, guys. We've seen what this does. We've seen how this works. We know how we feel about Chris Godwin, where we're drafting him, et cetera, et cetera. Laquan, I'll let you pour one out for Jalen McMillan.
It's a waiting period, man. Just sit tight. Be patient.
Can I pour one out for Drake May?
I pour one out for Drake May because the Patriots did a lot on Monday, just not a lot with their offense.
Apparently, they had an offer that was over $20 million more than the Bucks, and Godwin
Chris
said
Godwin
no.
was like, nah.
State tax is better.
Nah. Well, not to mention the fact that, Chris Godwin played at Penn State. He knows what cold weather games are like. He's like, I can go to Tampa and have my games.
I thought he was going to end up in Jacksonville. Thought they were going to throw him a bag.
It's like, I know my home games are going to be in nice weather. I get to play a game in a dome in Atlanta. I get to play a game in a dome in New Orleans. Like, I don't have to worry about a lot of cold weather games playing with the Bucks. I don't know. That's just me.
Smart man.
Josh Palmer signs with the Bills. 3 years, $36 million. Does this do anything for us, Florio? Should we be excited about this?
I think for real life, this is a great fit. Like, he's a better out wide receiver. He could play the X. He better separator than anyone that they had, and better field stretcher than anyone that they had. But I still think Shakir's the top option. I still think Keon Coleman is going to be the number 2 option. I think Palmer helps open stuff up. I think he'll be kind of similar to what he was with the Chargers. Like, he'll have some good games. He'll have some not so good games, and he'll help create for the other guys around him.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Marquise Brown back at the Chiefs, 1 year, up to $11 million. So, Laquan, hopefully do we get to see a full year? Because we hope it's going to be good. We imagine it's going to be good, but we don't really know because we didn't see it. He played 2 whole games in the regular season with the Chiefs this year.
Yeah, I really don't know where to put his ceiling or even his floor because we didn't see it happen yet. And more so just looking at what we could get with Patrick Mahomes being the quarterback that he is. Like, I'm hoping he kind of like lives and breathes in those late rounds of fantasy drafts because I'm willing to take a shot on him. If he's healthy and we get the full go of the season, I don't see why he can't produce.
So the way you feel about like Chris Olave, that's kind of how I feel about Marquise Brown. And not that anybody's put him up in the first round, but at some point, like, it's just been more hype than actual production, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he has one 1,000-yard season. In fact, that's the only time he's even reached 800 yards in a season. He's had injury issues. He's only once had more. The 1,000-yard season, he had 91 catches. He's never had more than 67 catches in any other year.
I don't like he had bad quarterbacks either.
Right. I mean, he went from Lamar Jackson to Kyler Murray to Patrick Mahomes, right? Like, he doesn't even have like the Garrett Wilson. Like, Garrett Wilson's got man, I had Zach Wilson and I had bad Aaron Rodgers. Like, at least Garrett Wilson has that under his belt, right? Like, Marquise Brown didn't even have that, Like, okay, he's fast. A lot of people in the NFL are fast. Like, you got to show me something. I mean, the Raiders drafted Darius Hayward-Bay because he was fast, and how'd that work out? The Giants keep trying to get rid of Darius Slayton. The Giants can't get rid of Darius Slayton. He's back with a 3-year, $36 million deal. Like they have him on the roster. They don't use him. Then he'll have like 1 or 2 really, really good games. And you're like, why don't they use Darius Slayton more? And then he's like, he might be a cap casualty or he might get traded. And now he's back.
For another 3 years.
3 years. I don't know. Darius Slayton kind of is who he is.
My favorite, I saw a tweet that said he caught Eli Manning's last touchdown pass and he's going to catch Arch Manning's first. And I thought that was pretty funny.
Wow. Oh, that'll be wild. I mean, that's a legit possibility.
That would be so insane.
That is a legit possibility. I mean, if Arch comes out and gets drafted by the Giants, that could be wild. Hey. Wow. Diami Brown signs with the Jaguars, 1 year, $10 million. Florio, he finished the season hot, right? He played really well in the playoffs for Washington. This still doesn't feel like the counterpart to Brian Thomas Jr. that we want, though.
No, this is like a bargain bin. He got more money than I expected, but like the Jags paid Gabe Davis last year. Like that, it didn't move the needle at all for that offense. Like this just feels like a better real life move. Like, all right, we have another option here that we could sprinkle in and stuff, and not one that's really going to be all that fantasy relevant.
Yeah. I think similar thing with Tutu Atwell, re-signs with the Rams, 1 year, $10 million. Laquan, this feels like a move that's good for the Rams, not really anything we worry about for fantasy.
No, I mean, best ball leagues, you could take a shot. I really feel like, Puka's always going to have that injury bug on him. So if Puka goes down, I mean, Tutu showed this past season, he could show it with Cooper and Puka out, and he made some clutch catches this season. So well earned. I mean, I do feel like, redraft leagues, it's not really like my interest to go out and draft him.
Cardio king of the year.
There it is.
That's Gabe Davis, man.
They're just going to be like, run.
Just run this 9, be a decoy distraction.
And we'll throw you one every like 2 or 3 games just to kind of keep you interested, keep you happy. Mac Hollins, he'll be freeing the feet in Foxborough now. 2-year deal with $8.4 million for the Patriots. At first I was going to be like, it's going to be hard to free the feet in New England. And I was like, wait, he played in Buffalo last year. So does this make you more excited? Does it make you feel better about Drake May, Florio?
No, because he's exactly like he's a good depth piece. He's a good contested catch guy, good field stretcher. But the thing that he was best for, what kept him on the field with the Bills, was his run blocking. So like, yeah, I don't really think he's much of an upgrade over the guys they already had.
And then the Texans go out and sign Justin Watson. That's all I got. I don't know. I mean, like, he was a guy who's kind of a thorn in our side last year. If you had any other Kansas City pass catchers, like, he never did enough that made you want to have him on your roster, but also was doing just enough that he was just kind of irritating to everybody else. I don't know. That's kind of all I got. And like, now, like, the Texans can't be done at wide receiver, right?
No, can't be. No way. Because like Nico, Christian Kirk, and then you have the rest of the supporting cast that they have. Like, they need more, they need another, weapon attack downfield, and I don't think Justin Watson's going to be that, plug and play.
Yeah, I don't think so. He's just, it does seem like a depth piece. I think a lot of it is how quickly and how fully does Tank Dell recover. I think that sort of impacts what.
Still
what
think
Justin
they should
Watson's.
draft a wide receiver though.
I think so too. Maybe not first round, but I think they should probably go out and get one. Maybe round 2.
Because all the guys they got have injury history. John Mechie, Nico Collins himself, Christian Kirk, back-to-back seasons of injuries. Like, this could fall apart very, very, very soon and easy if they don't draft a wide receiver.
And plus, they don't have any O-linemen, so that's a problem.
They just traded their best one.
I was going to get to that. In a little bit for sure. This is also not a great draft to need a wide receiver. That's also part of the problem if you're the Houston Texans right now, for sure. So, a couple of tight end signings of note. Zach Ertz re-signs with the Commanders, 1 year, $6.25 million for him. Kind of still a fringe tight end one. Florio, does this mean I have to give up on my Ben Sinnott dream, as hazy and, weird as it was?
They also paid John Bates, so yeah. They were like, you know what? You worked out well as our tight end 3. We're going to keep you there right now. Like, Ertz, obviously Bates is not fantasy relevant, but even Ertz is someone that like I wouldn't draft as my tight end one because there's not a lot of upside there. He seems more like a pick up off the waiver wire or like plug in, and if you're desperate, and he'll get you a safe floor like 8-9 points. But he's also another year older now, so eventually it's gonna come crashing down.
Yeah. Zach Ertz is totally that name that like if I'm trying to stream a tight end and I see him on the waiver wire, I'm like, ooh, Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
You know, like
At no point am I like, I want to draft him though. Like,
right, exactly. But if he's hanging on the waiver wire, like, yeah, you best be sure I'll spend some fab on it. Like, yeah, I'll plug him in for a couple weeks, see how it goes for sure.
I got $6 on it.
Right. Speaking of tight ends, I would throw a few bucks on and fab. Austin Hooper re-signs with the Patriots on a 1-year, $5 million
This guy just keeps
deal.
hooping.
I see what you did there. Yes. But he's also still there. What? I mean, Hunter Henry is still there too, right? I mean,
that is a great question.
you know,
Is
like,
he?
I don't know.
Where is Hunter?
he's still there.
He's still there. Yeah. He's still in New England.
He's their top pass catcher, which is sad.
That's a sad statement for sure. Mike Gesicki resigns with the Bengals, 3 years, $25.5 million.
That was a good one.
Okay.
Is it?
Yeah. If T. Higgins goes down again, he showed up good. He's another guy that goes undrafted, and you just pick up the waiver wire.
You got to pay Jamar Chase 40-something million now. You got to pay T. Higgins. You got to pay Burrow. Like, how many resources do you need on this offense?
Also, I mean, what define good for Mike Gesicki? I mean, 665 yards last year.
It's the best
2
situation.
touchdowns.
The best
It's the best situation for him. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
that it does anything for me. You know, and
No,
this is all
You know
about-
what it does?
What about me?
It's going to make Bengals games the best for fantasy because they're going to have literally no money to spend on defense, that their games are going to be like first to 100 wins.
They're trying to get rid of their best defensive piece. They're going to be so bad on defense. They're going to throw the ball like 50 times a game. Gesicki's going to eat. Big jersey.
Well, and just to throw some cold water on your Gesicki hype here, Tanner Hudson re-signed with a 1-year deal. So
Oh boy. Did Drew Sample also? Is he still on the roster? I mean,
I don't know.
I'm never
They're
in on that Tanner
they're
train.
gonna bring back CJ Uzama too while we're at
Don't
it.
they,
Like,
don't
I
they
don't
have
know.
like Eric? What's the other guy name? He was like a prospect, a high top prospect tight end last year.
Oh, Eric Alt?
Yeah,
Eric All. Yeah,
he
yeah.
got hurt. Yeah, so like good stuff for Gesicki, man.
I just know that the Devi folks love them some Eric All. That's all I can say about it.
That's all I heard and saw. Nothing.
It was 1 year. I mean, he had 1 year, but it's a guy who played at Michigan and Iowa, like two places that have just been pumping out tight ends lately. So
Tight end factory.
Yeah, they've been tight end factories. He went to both of those schools, so it's got to count for something.
Double down.
All right, so we went through most of the major notable skill position moves that we've had so far in free agency. A few other moves, and you guys can tell me which ones these sort of jump out at you. The Commanders trade for Laramie Tunsil, so he leaves Houston. He goes to Washington. The Texans lose guard Kenyon Green. That doesn't seem great, Florio, for a quarterback that struggled under pressure last year.
No, I think Laramie Tunsil was maybe the biggest move of the day yesterday. I know the quarterbacks and everything are what's going to get talked about, but Tunsil was top 3 in sack percentage allowed by left tackles last year. Like best. Like he's one of the best left tackles in the league. You're taking him off of a team that already had O-line issues. And yeah, CJ Stroud's going to be running for his life. But the flip side of that is Jaden Daniels now gets an improved O-line and an improved group of pass catchers. Like, I think Jaden Daniels is going to be in the MVP conversation this year.
I mean, he could be. We'll see. I mean, obviously, defenses will probably look at different ways to try to slow him down, but I think as long as he doesn't take a major step back, I don't think that's a ridiculous thought. The Bears try to beef up their offensive line. They signed Drew Dahlman. They trade for Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson. So this means, are you comfortable drafting Caleb Williams-Laquan as a top 10 quarterback?
Top 12, yes, probably at 12, looking for the upside. It shows the initiative that they want to protect them. And most of their moves have been nothing but the trenches, and like you tip your hat off to Ben Johnson trying to create the formula that they did over there in Detroit. So more so, I look at Caleb Williams being a lot more comfortable this season in the pocket, and he still has DJ Moore there. So I'm always going to hold that interest, if that's going to be the pieces around him.
I'm in.
I think I'm into, but I want to see I want to see how long I can wait. Like, what's the longest I can wait and still get Caleb Williams?
Yeah.
But, you know.
Wait till they draft Genty.
Right?
Then it's over.
Yeah.
Stop. I'm down to run it back. I'm down to run it back this year. Like, I took Caleb as a QB2.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really got burned on Caleb this year, right?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Because like he was
But the expectations were so high that I think people are going to hold it against
I
him.
do wish I took Jaden Daniels in some of those leagues that I went Caleb, though. Like that was my only burn regret there.
I will say that I took Jaden in places where I missed on Caleb. Those best ball teams are the ones that, no surprise, did better last year.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it just is. Some other things. The Vikings signed Ryan Kelly and Will Freeze. Aaron Banks is leaving San Francisco. It's been a mass exodus out of Santa Clara this year. He leaves the Niners, goes to the Packers. The Patriots signed Morgan Moses. Any of those move the needle for you, fellas?
Not really. But look, Drake May is getting protection. So
my take is if that's the best move for the Patriots offense, I think it was a bad day one for Drake May and the Patriots.
Oh man,
they were active. They just
right now.
They just weren't very active necessarily on the offensive side,
which is bad because if you don't want them having a great defense and not having to throw and stuff, like it was. I think yesterday was as bad a poor of a day as could have went. And I've been hyping up this day for Drake May for months.
You know what this indicates, though? They're going to run the piss out of that ball. So whoever is going to be getting that rock, that running back needs to be, looked at. If it's Stevenson, if they draft a guy.
They're not. But see, that's the thing. They're at 4 because they're not going to draft. They're going to draft Genty at 4.
Who says they don't?
T-Mac,
I would. It would be great to see a running back go that high. It'd be fun. That's a hard sell.
Marcus, I want your thoughts on what the 49ers offense is going to look like because Brock Purdy's going to have to earn that payday now.
Yeah, I mean, to a point, yes. But here's the thing. They're still going to bring back Trent Williams on the offensive line, which is a big piece. Christian McCaffrey, in theory, is healthy. Yes, he's a year older, but he is still one of the best backs in the league, right? He might not be number one, but he's still one of the best backs in the league. He's still productive. Brandon Ayuk is back and healthy. We've seen Juwan Jennings. We saw him last year be very productive when guys were out, when Ayuk was out, when Debo was not playing well. We saw Juwan Jennings step up, and they really do believe they have something in Ricky Pearsall. They still have George Kittle. So, yeah, I mean, it's been tough. Like, I still think, like I said at the top of the show, I think the Rams are the best team in the division. I think they're the odds-on favorite to win the NFC West. But I think
I'm grinning so hard.
I know you are. I'm trying to not look at my screen right now.
Like the grin, the slow motion Grinch smile, like that's what little Claude was.
I was trying to not praise them too much because I knew what was going to happen. But I think my point is, I think it's wise to maybe downgrade the Niners a little bit, but I think it would be foolish to be just completely out on the 49ers. Like, the way I look at it, my feelings about Brock Purdy in fantasy are no different now than they were last week. It's just that some of the pieces and some of the names that he's working with are going to be a little different. That's all.
I'll tell you my plan now. I will be in the fantasy streets on whatever social media platform downing the 49ers so I can get the discount on Ricky.
You're going to do that anyway. It has nothing to do with fantasy. You're just going to go out and talk trash about the 49ers because it makes you feel good.
But it does. It warms my heart because I cannot stand their fans. But I really think we're going to get such a huge discount on Ayuk. We're going to get a discount on Ricky. George Kittle might be the only one that may live and still breathe and where his ADP always is. But
yeah,
the wide receivers are definitely going to be discounted. Juwan Jennings could be like a late round steal.
McCaffrey's going to be discounted. I mean, from where he had been in the past, he's going to be discounted.
But guess who I'm going to be drafting once again? Jordan freaking Mason. Let's go. He's back, by the way. They put that tender on him. He ain't going nowhere.
I mean, he's not, but I do think he's going to have some really tough competition from Isaac Guerrero. I think that's something to keep in mind.
Oh, boy.
I'm just saying.
I don't believe.
Okay. Hear me now, believe me later. Whatever.
Give me Ricky Pearsall. That'll be the Niner I want.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So there it is. All right, so we still have plenty more that's going to be happening over the next couple of days. We'll be back with you on Thursday to sort of recap that and maybe try to make some more sense. There's so much that we just tried to pack into this hour or so.
I'm surprised we did.
yeah, we got through it. I'm proud of us. So maybe on Thursday we can sort of, see obviously what has happened since this recording was done, and then try to maybe make more sense of some of these other things. Maybe we'll even reach out. Maybe we'll try to reach out to Cam Wolf too. Kind of get a reporter insider take on some of this. We'll see what we can do. See if we can make some things happen. But in the meantime, take a breath. That'll do it for this edition of the NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. Stay happy, safe, and healthy. Do good and live well. Enjoy free agency, everybody. And we'll talk to you again on Thursday.